Oh, right, today we're having a look at Root by GK-S-. Alright, so here we are in Root by GK-S-. Root is us, I guess, here. I suppose this is Root. Something really nice. We had a bit of a cutscene. We're talking very busty mom there. Told us to get up the mountain. There's going to be somebody who's going to take us to where we need to go. And it joined us not to fail. We'll do our best, right? I just accidentally killed myself. Okay. How do I get down there? How do I get down there without dying? Mom! Mom! But a little bit of an idle animation that Root actually, I'm just gonna call her Root. I'm thinking that's her name. Creates a chair for herself when she's waiting. And I thought that was really kind of cool. Alright, so what have we got? Kind of a standard fantasy environment, but quite nice looking. R1 is attack. Gotcha. That's cool. Also attack. Heal. Okay. Can I heal at any time, I wonder? Like, is there a limiter on that? I don't know. We're gonna find out. Sparkly crystals. Take that, sparkly crystals. Oh, I see. Okay. So those are going to be kind of like key points that we're going to want to knock out of the way so that they'll open up other things. Now, I didn't notice the triangle there. We have a double jump. I'm really liking the character model. Character model is very, very nice. What are you? Oh, sure. I guess. I imagine that we're going to have some enemies that we're going to be fighting. They wouldn't give us an attack without enemies, I would imagine. Unless the attack is just to get crap out of the way so that we can move on with our lives. Hello, door. Now, what is it? Doing another diegetic sound, it seems like. Don't have any soundtrack going on. And I suppose that's fine. That's really nice looking, though. It is very nice looking. Things... Oh, crumbs. Don't want to fall down there. Things do get that kind of... I don't want to say standard Dreams look, but... Is there a hover? Because that jump looks a little bit too far. We do notice that the texturing on a lot of objects in a lot of levels is that kind of fuzzy texturing. I use it myself in the hub, in the kind of the more naturalistic hub. And we do see that when we get really close to things. Well, I mean, there's no way we're going to make that jump, right? Well, so... I'm pressing other buttons just to see. Square button was heal. Oh, we have a dash. Well, thank you so much for telling us that we had a dash. Just spent like a minute throwing myself off the side of this bridge, getting poor Root killed. Oh, fudge. That was my fault. That was totes my fault. 100%. I take ownership of that really stupid death. But... time is a wasting. We've only got a minute and 47 seconds left. But don't fall down the hole again whilst you are looking at the... Now, like, is there enough space to dash? What was my dash button? Okay, there is barely. Good. Do we... It just seems safer to use it. That's a bit tricky to go from the circle to the X... like that, but okay. But yeah, mentioning before, so it's diegetic sound. It seems like we don't have any kind of soundtrack, which I'm always kind of up in the air about whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. Even more naturalistic games, I think, can do with the soundtrack. Hi, it's R1. Nice glorps, by the way. I kind of like those glorps. They're cute. We like cute. Well, usually, most of the times. Hi, we got a square. Or a diamond. We've only got 46 seconds, and I looked away from the screen, so I kind of got lost for a second there. Take that, Glorp. I should probably heal. What was the heal button again? Square? There we go. Alright. But I'm liking what we're seeing so far. The environment seems quite large, but I have the feeling that if we looked at this from the top, it's probably a much more closed-off environment than it appears on the surface. Did I just get lost? I just went in a circle, didn't I? Fool! Bound for the Lake of Fire. That's us, bound for the Lake of Fire. Also gonna be bound for the hub in a second. We're gonna have to go back there, but we'll see you soon. We'll talk about it there. But see yas! And we're back, and Root by GK-S-, and I would say it's a pretty solid yellow square. It's definitely got some points that I feel are going against it, but I really didn't see anything here that would drag it down into orange diamond territory. It feels very, very solid as kind of an introductory level, an introductory stage to a wider adventure, and that's kind of set up at the beginning and at the end. At the beginning, your mother, that is your mom, is telling you you've got to go on this adventure. You're going to meet somebody at the top of the mountain. It's going to take you wherever you want to go. You got to go into the east. And then when you wrap things up and you meet this really nicely designed bird, actually, it takes you off to the east, and then it thanks you to where you're going. The character design in this is really, really good. On the level of sculpting skill and animation where animation is, I really, really liked it a lot. I found the fairy queens to be a bit too much of the Jim Butcher school of designing fairy queens, where they're like really busty, like really busty, distractingly so. But still, like, the sculpt work in there is really cool. The bird as well, as I mentioned, I thought the bird was awesome looking as a bird. Your character model, Root, I think the name, I'm gonna guess the name is Root. I don't think it's said specifically in the story, but that character model is really awesome. The animations are very, very smooth on the model. There's a number of gestures that you can unlock throughout. Well, yeah, you can unlock. I was gonna say that they're almost impossible to miss, but there is one that you can miss. But those gestures are a lot of fun. They're not really doing anything. There's one goofy one that just shoots out PlayStation. It's kind of cool, actually. But you know, the fact that those have been animated into the model, I really, really do appreciate. There's an idle animation as well, where if you leave the character standing long enough, they'll actually make a chair to sit on, which is cool, because if I had the power to control plants, I'd probably make makeshift chairs off and on, you know, all the time. The enemy models, for the most part, work. They're slimes. Basically, you're just fighting slimes, different varieties, colors, sizes of slimes, but they do, for the most part, work, except for the boss that will probably show in pips later. Now, when we were doing the video, and we got to that section, that bridge section, where I kept on dying because I didn't realize there was an air dash. And there's actually a kind of tutorial section that will teach you how to do that, although I did find the button prompt as listed on the screen to be a bit difficult to parse. It looked like a square to me, but square was heal. It's actually a circle, as we eventually discovered. And that is one thing that I felt was a little bit against the level, that this tutorial section, which does exist, and if you do the tutorial and you meet another character called Elizabeth, who's a mushroom, which is actually a really good character model. You talk with her a little bit about going to the east, you get another gesture from that character. It's completely missable, and we did miss it in the video section itself. There's nothing necessarily that directs your gaze to where that is. There is a big shiny object that is catching your gaze in that initial section, and most players, like myself, I think, are going to go to the shiny object first, clock that, you know, with their stick, and then that pans over to show you the next section that's opened up, and they're just going to run like we did right out that next section and completely miss out on the tutorial section. Now, if you want to introduce player mechanics, gameplay mechanics early on with the tutorial, if you feel that's necessary, then I think that tutorial, you kind of have to herd the player through it. If you give players another option, they're oftentimes going to take the other option and not even realize that there was a tutorial section to go to. Otherwise, you know, putting the controls in some kind of accessible menu or in the title page, I think would be fairly useful. You go through this environment, and I did like the environment an awful lot, but it is something that, to my mind, is kind of, because I've seen it before. Not this environment. I think that GK-S- did a great job with this environment. It looks really, really nice, but it is also kind of falling into what I feel is a kind of a Dreams fantasy standard. That we've seen a number of environments like this, using the paint strokes like we see going on here. When it's well done, it looks really, really good, as it does here, but there is a slight feeling of sameness to it, and I look forward to the community branching out more and more, and kind of finding their own tone and their own kind of, this is what I want my environments to look like, that are separate from and different from other environments. I don't want to say that if you've seen, one, that you've seen them all. That's not really precisely my meaning, but it is kind of there. And this is, beautiful though it may be, it is kind of standard for this type of fantasy environment. Now, as far as the gameplay, and there's not like a lot difficult to the gameplay. There was one thing that I felt was an issue, and those were the one-hit KO plants that pop up out of the ground in the, I think it's the third section that you're in. The issue there is that there's nothing that's been front-ended about those plants. The first time that you encounter them, they're probably going to kill you. And there's not a lot about the environment that really sings out, okay, one-hit KO plant's gonna pop out here. I eventually kind of felt like I narrowed it down to where the dead patches on the ground were, but I don't know if that's entirely right. I just kept on jump dashing over those sections, but like a sign somewhere, hazardous plants around here, or be careful of deadfall, something that would trigger to the player that there's something to be on the lookout for, because otherwise they're just going to run into that and then they're going to die, and they're not going to know why exactly they've died, so they'll probably maybe get around the first section and then die in the second section, and eventually it'll click. But to give a hint, some kind of environmental hint early on, I think is probably a useful thing. And then we get to the fighting that you actually do. You've got kind of a combo attack, 2 swings and a spin, and that you can attack the enemies with, and it works out for the most part fine. There's not really a big issue. You fight 2 bosses though in this this creation, and I kind of feel like the bosses could have been swapped a little bit. See, the first boss that you fight, the green slime, you're not only fighting the boss, you're also supposed to be protecting this bird. And if the bird dies, the fight is over. If you die, the fight is over. So you're juggling a couple of things here. It's actually a pretty tough fight, and it'll probably take a couple of deaths to figure out how to balance things, because the green slime is spitting out slimes that attack the bird. It's spitting out like blobs of slime that hit you, and if you stay too close to it for too long, it'll send out spikes that will do continuous damage to you, damage per second, and like, it's a lot to juggle. It really is. But it's defeatable. It's absolutely defeatable. But the thing is, then later on you'll fight the king slime. I think the king slime would have been better served without the eyes on it. There are these like triangle eyes that pop up on the king slime. I don't think they do it any favors, but like the metallic sheen to that slime is actually really kind of cool. But you're only fighting the king slime. Now, it is a bit of a tougher fight, but it's not that tough, and you've only got one thing to focus on. It's just that one boss. So I kind of feel like putting the protect the bird section with the king slime, because after you fight the king slime, you will eventually run across the big bird that is going to take you on to the next stage. So it makes it a thematic connection between the two. Like, the little bird is perhaps a spawn, a child of the big bird. And so by saving this little bird, you're kind of proving yourself to the big bird that you should be taken along to the next section. The way that the little bird protection is with the green slime section, and when you beat the green slime, there's no like acknowledgement from the little bird. There's nothing to indicate that this bird was important at all. Just killing the slime was important. So I think putting that protection bit in the second more difficult boss fight, and putting just the focus on the boss fight in that midsection where the green slime is, I think that it would serve the pacing better, it would serve the narrative better as well. And about those boss fights, the camera in Root is your usual swing this camera around as much as you possibly can, as much as you possibly want, free-floating Dreams camera, which for the most part is kind of fine. But when you're fighting the king slime in particular, and you kind of want to keep that slime in view because it's got spiky bits and it's got a poison miasma that can damage you, you're constantly swinging the camera around. You have to constantly swing the camera around to actually, keep that slime where you need to see it. It would be better, I think, for both the boss fight areas to have a locked-in camera of GK-S-'s choice to show you the field, so you're not constantly having to juggle that extra piece of where is this enemy, I don't know. But I'm finding that a lot in levels, that there's a lot of freeform camera used when you'd probably be better off just having a locked-in camera to show the players exactly what they need to be looking at any given time. I know I've kind of had a lot of negative points about the level, and you may have question marks as to why it's not a lower grade, but I do think in the end I had a really good time with it. I thought it was a fun level. I thought it was very, very well done level. It's a very, very well presented level. It could definitely use some polish. It could definitely use a little bit of expansion, making things a little bit clear to players, but at the end of the day, it's good. It's really good, and it deserves more love. I think it's only had about 300 or so plays, 300, 400 plays, somewhere in between there. It could definitely use more, because there are levels that have had less work put into them that have gotten a lot more love from the community. So give this one a look. See where it goes well, see where it kind of falls down, and see if you can apply those lessons to your own creations. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for us here. I know this is probably a bit of a longer one, so I do appreciate the patience. And from me, Risco, here in Osaka, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.